There's nothing like that experience of going and sharing it on the big screen with all your friends and loved ones. And so we really want people to rediscover their love for film and rediscover their art house in their community.
This is the Box Office Podcast. I'm Daniel Aria, the editorial director of Box Office Pro, the pulse of theatrical exhibition. Here this week with my colleagues and co-hosts, Rebecca Pauley, deputy editor at Box Office Pro, and our staff writer, Chad Kenner. And in this week's episode, brought to you by Agile Ticketing Solutions, we're going to be looking back on Index, the independent exhibition and distribution conference that took place in Chicago last week. Rebecca Pauley was there in person covering the event. We'll be hearing from her. And in our feature segment, we'll be hearing from this week's sponsor, Agile Ticketing Solutions. We've got Shane Burkett, Director of Strategic Marketing over at Agile, going into the event as well. It's going to be a great conversation looking over the specialty side of the industry, because it's not just blockbusters and tentpoles coming into the summer. We also have to look at all of the art house films hitting theaters from now to the end of the year. One of our favorite segments. Chad, Rebecca, do you guys have an early front runner for your favorite specialty title of the year so far?
I just can't wait to see Longlegs. I feel like I can't make a call until I see Longlegs. I'm so excited for that, and Cuckoo. I'm excited for both of those.
Just horror, of course. Rebecca's going to go with horror. Chad, can you mix it up a bit? What are you looking forward to? What have you liked so far on the specialty side?
Well, I've definitely enjoyed the bike riders. I thought that was great fun. And I also have to echo Rebecca. I'm looking forward to both of those.
I still have to see the bike riders. I'm looking forward to catching it as soon as I can escape here. I'm down here in Austin, Texas, visiting family this weekend. I was able to make it out to Galaxy Theaters to check out A Quiet Place Day 1. I saw it in D-Box, immersive seating. It was good. I mean, it was exciting, the haptic experience really, I think, heightened it. You guys saw that as well, right?
Yeah, I saw it in a plain old laser, no premium specific element there at the AMC 34th Street near Penn Station. But I liked it. It felt, you trim off that end credit block. It's like a solid 90 minutes, gets in, gets out.
I love it.
I felt really good about the storytelling. And that was a good cat actor.
Any cat-driven narrative is going to be worth your time. Chad, where did you check out the movie?
I had a press screening, but it was in IMAX, so that was really great experience.
Look at that, IMAX press screenings? What's going on in Denver that you guys are getting treated like royalty over there? Not bad. Going to the specialty question that I do want to answer, I don't know if you saw the new trailer for Robert Eggers' Nosferatu coming out from Focus Features on Christmas. Man, that looks amazing. That's on top of my list on the specialty side. Favorite so far, have you guys seen Kinds of Kindness from Yorgos Lanthimos?
I haven't, but I grabbed a keychain and air freshener for your car because I know you liked it, Daniel. So
I'll wear a seatbelt when I have that. It's a great PSA on the value of seatbelts, that movie. Yeah, a bit ironic that that's some of the merch they were giving out for Kinds of Kindness. I really liked it. I'm a huge Yorgos Lanthimos fan. I think I've mentioned it to you guys. It's Alps being a movie that I took out a date that I was really looking forward being with, and she broke up with me right after that movie. So Yorgos Lanthimos helped me dodge bullets ahead of time, and I do appreciate that influence he's had in my life. But enough chit-chat here, because we've got a lot of news to go over before our feature segments and our forecasting of the 4th of July weekend box office. Let's start with the news, Chad, because we've got theater opening here in New Jersey in one of the premier shopping malls in the country.
Yeah, BMB Theaters has announced a state-of-the-art cinema and entertainment experience at American Dream in New Jersey. It's going to house the largest ScreenX auditorium in the world. And yeah, very interesting. It kind of complements their operation there at Mall of America.
I'm excited. This is actually get toable from New York for us, Daniel. I'm excited to
get toable is a very flexible term from New York City, Rebecca.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
It's if it's not the train, it's Train Plus, and that's always an asterisk. But I have to say, I haven't been to the American Dream shopping mall. I know of it. Of course, it's one of these like huge shopping mall complexes right by, I believe, the Meadowlands Stadium in New Jersey. MetLife Stadium, I think it's called now. So yes, it is reachable from the city. B&B really coming in with a lot of new concepts, a lot of these expansive cinema entertainment centers. So I'm excited to see what they have. And it's going to be the first B&B location that I actually visit. 11 years covering this industry, I still haven't been to a B&B Theaters location. So having an outpost in the Northeast is going to be great. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the entire concept of the American Dream shopping mall. Similar to the Mall of America, it's one of these like massive indoor shopping malls, which leads me to question you guys on your own association with like 90s shopping mall culture. You're both children of the mid to late 80s. You have a lot of memories, I assume, growing up
Oh,
and
yeah.
going to these shopping malls. What's
Yeah.
your childhood shopping mall, and did it have a movie theater?
It was Concord Mills in Concord, North Carolina, right by Charlotte Motor Speedway. So there was a big, like a lot of NASCAR themed stuff in that mall. But actually, I think it was an AMC in that theater. And it was one of the ones in the area that would play like Bollywood films, which always thought was kind of neat. It had a little bit of that offbeat programming, but I used to work not at the movie theater there, but in a craft store in the mall. So.
All right, so you had a lot of memories,
Oh,
not only
yes.
at the mall, but at the food court. What was your food court pick at the mall?
Chili's to go.
Chili's to go, the solid airport option. I'm sure you
Mm-hmm.
just feast at the LaGuardia flight delays when that's there. Chad Kennerk, on your end, what's your shopping mall association here growing up?
Yeah, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, we had a mall which no longer exists called Southtown Mall. It had a movie theater attached to it. I don't have any distinct memories of which movies I saw there, but we definitely went. And as a kid, I was always excited because that mall was the one that had the McDonald's in it, and I wanted the movie tie-in toy with my movie theater experience.
Yeah, the AMC at Concord Mills was like right next to the Cinnabon. So when I smelled a Cinnabon, I knew it was movie time. I mean, Daniel, you moved around a bunch. I mean, you must have seen the gamut of malls.
4 countries, yeah. But the classic American mall experience, I probably only had when I lived for 1 year as a child in Battle Creek, Michigan in the mid 90s. I have fond memories of the Lakeview Square Mall, which has a movie theater. It opened while I was living there, now operated by NCG, Neighborhood Cinemas Group out of Michigan. Yeah, great memories of just like walking these like indoor mall, like expansive food courts.
You'd see the mall
There,
walker, like people would just be power walking
yeah, I
at
mean,
8
it
o'clock in the
was
morning.
classic. I mean, it's something that I don't really think exists today outside of certain pockets in the country. Obviously, when I moved to Miami for high school in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had shopping malls there. Sunset Place that has the AMC 24 and the Falls that has a Regal UA 12, I think. But they're a different sort of vibe altogether. But that classic indoor Dawn of the Dead style mall, yeah, mid 90s, Lakeview Square, Battle Creek, Michigan. I still remember it fondly. Yeah, but it's great to see that even to this day, as the entire conversation about shopping malls evolves, we still see movie theaters being anchor tenants at these sites, at these locations, to still drive foot traffic and bring people in over a weekend. And I'll be excited to go over to that location with you, Rebecca, as soon as it opens in New Jersey. Now, we've got more theater openings here, some leases that have been taken over, another one in Secaucus, New Jersey, Chad.
Yeah, Regal actually taking over the Secaucus Showplace Theater. It's a 14 screen, and that's already reopened as of late June.
Nice. And I know there's another Showplace theater that is going to be reopened with another major chain, this time Marcus Theaters taking over a former Showplace location in St. Louis Park in Minnesota. So you see some chains shutting doors, but other chains stepping in to reopen them. Always good to have these sites have a legacy operator here behind them. And talking about movie theaters opening, reopening, we've got some development here on the 6 franchisee locations that had closed from Alamo Drafthouse prior to the Sony acquisition. Rebecca, they're reopening under the corporate side of Alamo.
Shortly before the sale of Alamo Drafthouse to Sony was announced, the franchisee partner who ran all 5 Alamos in Dallas and one in the Twin Cities area of Minnesota just closed all of those cinemas. Alamo said, very shortly after we're not going to have Dallas without an Alamo in it. Like, we're going to be reopening, we're going to have a presence in these cities. We're going to get back there, but really no indication as to how long it might take. But they got on that. I mean, they're Alamo now, as you mentioned, under the corporate umbrella, is reopening all 6 of those theaters. A nice move as well, giving back pay to those employees who were affected by the closures, and they're first in line to come back and work at the theaters if they would wish to do so, if they haven't already found another job. So it's an interesting time, and it definitely was chatted about at Index a lot, just to what the Alamo Drafthouse sale would mean, how that would pan out.
Yeah, it's always good to hear when you have bad news, like a franchisee filing for bankruptcy, that the corporate side can go in, step up, make those workers whole for any back pay that they would have been owed, and be able to offer those jobs back up again. I'm really happy for that news and excited to see Alamo reopen in the Dallas area. And now, guys, let's move forward to the weekend forecast. Rebecca, we're looking at a 4th of July weekend that post-pandemic hasn't always been a guarantee at the domestic market.
Yeah, Daniel, typically 4th of July, a pretty important weekend on the calendar, obviously landing in the dead of summer, but not one that over the past couple of years has been a surefire weekend for cinema exhibition. What are we looking at this year, and how do we think it's going to stack up against what we've seen recently from July 4th weekend?
Well, it's a bit of a different July 4th frame because we've got the biggest movie that's opening this year opening on a Wednesday prior to the July 4th holiday. So we have a 5-day opening weekend for one title, and then everything else is either opening on July 4th proper or that Friday. So a little bit of an asterisk here. Overall, we're expecting, I believe, around $140 to $190 million overall in the domestic market for the 3-day frame starting on Friday and then through Sunday. I'll go over the top 3 in a little bit, but let me go over the history that you mentioned here, Rebecca, because it's important to highlight when we talk about the 4th of July weekend that we're not talking about the 4th of July weekend from 2015, right? Or 2012. We have different expectations now in this post-pandemic market, and it has been inconsistent. In 2023, we had a new opener like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny opening. It claimed the first place in the box office, but it wasn't a successful first place. It did 60 million 3-day, 83 million 5-day, the 5th Indiana Jones title. And if you just go back to 2008, the 4th Indiana Jones title, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, opened to $100 million over a 3-day frame on Memorial Day weekend. So it was a big 40% drop over a 3-day holiday weekend when you go from 2008 to 2023 with this Indiana Jones movie. Now, that doesn't mean that it was the entire industry that was doing poorly. It's just one big marquee title that didn't hit in that range. We remember there was a small movie, quote unquote, opening on July 4th, the day, that ended up being one of the top 10 grossers overall in the year, which was Sound of Freedom. So there are, I think, exceptions to this inconsistency rule, right? But it really depends on the year where it comes in. I think the last successful 4th of July weekend that we had in the post-pandemic box office came in 2022 with Minions: The Rise of Gru. That opened to 107 million 3-day and 123 million on the 4-day frame. That was important, I think, because we've got another Despicable Me Minions title coming up this weekend, and that sort of informs us of what we can expect from this movie this weekend.
Yeah, definitely a reliable franchise, Daniel. And we are having, and our estimations do put the opening weekend frame. As you mentioned, it's kind of difficult to compare apples to apples because Despicable Me 4, it will have already hit theaters yesterday if you're listening to this on the Thursday it comes out. But we are expecting a range of 70 to 85 million over the 3-day weekend. 115 to 135 million when you add in a Wednesday and Thursday. So we're expecting pretty much on par with previous entries in the Despicable Me franchise. It's a reliable franchise. It's a reliable earner. Illumination. Chad, you wrote in our look ahead at the biggest in films hitting theaters in July. I think worldwide, the whole franchise has grossed like $4.5 billion.
Yeah, no, I think that's
Wow.
right.
So
big numbers, yeah. And if we look at the 4th of July openers for this Despicable Me and Minions franchise, I already mentioned the 107 3-day and 123 million 4-day take for Minions Rise of Gru in 2022. You also have Despicable Me 2 opening on 4th of July weekend of 2013 to 83 million on the 3-day and 143 million on the 5-day. Big swing there, right? Despicable Me 3 in 2017 opened to 72 million on the 3-day and 99 million on the 5-day. That more or less aligns with that range that you mentioned shortly, Rebecca, that we're expecting $115 to $135 million 5-day opening weekend for Despicable Me 4, and something between like 70 to 85 million for that Friday through Sunday. There are other openers this weekend that we don't really expect to have a big screen count or really compete strongly for those top 3 spots. We've got Maxine, the horror film from Ty West and A24. We've got Kill from Roadside Attractions, an Indian action movie. And then you've got from Angel Studios, Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. Those trio of titles are really struggling to hit a mass of showtimes because it's been so competitive at the top of the box office for the last 3-4 weeks. In the month of June, you've got a lot of overperformers making these other titles on the genre side, on the specialty side, really difficult for them to find that footprint in theaters. And that leads us to our number 2 forecast for the 4th of July weekend. On the 3-day frame, we're expecting a range between $27 and $35 million for Inside Out 2, a movie that's already made over $1 billion worldwide, the biggest hit by far of the year, the first $1 billion global earner since Barbie in 2023. We expect that to continue its positive momentum in the domestic market with a second place finish. But there's always the possibility that that gets, let's say, cannibalized a little bit by a competing animated family film in the market. So we do have A Quiet Place Day 1 from Paramount in its second weekend with a potential to overtake Inside Out 2 for that second spot. Right now, our forecast for the 3-day frame on A Quiet Place Day 1 is between 23 and 33 million, really in line with the franchise best 53 million opening weekend that Quiet Place Day 1 posted last weekend. So all in all, I think a very solid top 3 is the good news. The not so great news, obviously, you have other openers that are trying to open up a space for themselves in the market, but really haven't been able to find the showtimes or screen count to make a real impact.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken a lot about how, you don't want to judge a movie on its opening weekend performance. How, word of mouth really has a strong potential to really carry some of these holdovers. But you can't do it if you don't have the screens to put some of these older films on. Which, as we go through the back half of the summer, looks like that's increasingly going to be the case.
And you know what? You mentioned Sound of Freedom last year, and that opened up to not that many screens on the 4th of July itself. It didn't really feature into the top 10 on the 4th of July box office because of that weird opening day. But it was able to gain screens precisely because titles like Mission Impossible and Indiana Jones didn't really stick around and hold too well in the market. So we saw that's a great example of a movie being able to increase its footprint because other movies can really hold up that well. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case this year. You've got Inside Out 2, it just keeps on chugging along. You've got a franchise best opening from Quiet Place Day 1. And as we mentioned, Despicable Me 4, it's riding a very strong hot streak in the market for the $4 billion plus Despicable Me franchise. Yes, that's the, I think, entire picture here for what exhibition can expect nationally from the 4th of July weekend in 2024. But there's a whole other half of this industry, Rebecca, that doesn't live and die by animated family movies. They have a couple of more adult skewing titles that they can rely on. Let's get into that because last week there was the revival of the House Convergence conference, now being rebranded as part of this independent distributor and exhibition conference in Chicago. You were there for its first edition. What were your major takeaways from that event?
It's great to see House Convergence come back again with Film Festival Alliance being kind of bigger part of the branding of it this time around. Thus, the name change to Independent Film Exhibition Conference, IndX. They haven't quite settled on the official way to shorten it yet. But it was a well-attended show, about 700 people. I believe talked to some people who regularly went to earlier years of House Convergence and got the impression it was about a 50-50 split between the regulars and newer people. So a lot of new blood there, which is definitely, I think, a good thing. A lot of interesting conversations to be had. But yeah, Daniel, I mean, we talk now about, Inside Out 2 just really chugging along so well, and A Quiet Place Day 1 overperforming. On the mainstream side of the box office, things have gotten, I think, definitely improved over the last couple of weeks. But, remembering back to Q1, Q2, we had a pretty dire couple of months there in terms of the slate. And something that was interesting to me is that the mood at Index was just so much more optimistic and just a better mood than you had at CinemaCon. Going to Vegas in April when the messaging was, okay, we just got to make it through these next couple of months and we'll get to summer and we'll have films and they'll start performing. But the art house side of the market, independent theaters, film festivals, they're doing great. The first,
if you look at those first 6 months, right, and you had some titles in April and in March that I think were really interesting on the art house side, on the specialty side. Challengers, obviously from Amazon MGM, was a nice hit, I think, for that community. You had movies like, obviously, Dune 2 that can cross over into the specialty space. A title like Civil War from A24, highest opening weekend in A24's history. That came out in April. Those were important titles. Going into June, you have not only the Bike Riders, which, of course, we're not talking about blockbuster numbers, but for art house audiences, that's important. Kinds of Kindness from Yorgos Lanthimos, another, I think, important movie in the summer for a business that makes most of its money in the fall.
Yeah, and it's important to note as well that, the metrics for success when you're talking about these theaters aren't just necessarily box office. Some of them are for-profit theaters. Most of them are nonprofits. So the metric of success is box office combined with the amount of donations you're able to bring in, your membership, how you serve as a tastemaker for your community and engage in the community art scene. But yeah, the first panel I went to was on the big boom that we've had in repertory screenings. It's just younger generations are coming back to these art house cinemas on their own to see older films, newer films that maybe came out, 5-10 years ago that maybe we don't consider quote unquote classic films. But I think there's a lot of interesting things going on in the art house space now, I think, because a lot of the lessons that were learned by the industry as a whole after the pandemic and these last few years about eventizing, about community engagement, art houses and independent cinemas were already on that. I think is fair to say. They were already fully aware of the necessity for it. And as people look for ways now to engage themselves in the community, to go out, to make connections, just to have an excuse to go out and meet people and do something, art house theaters are right there welcoming them with open arms.
Now, as someone that's attended Art House Convergence for many years in that wonderful cabin setup they had in Midway, Utah, the weekend before the Sundance Film Festival started, I can tell you one of my favorite events to always go to. Change in location. Chicago in the middle of the summer is very different than Utah in the middle
January,
of the winter.
Yeah,
very, very different. So I am curious to see, at least on the discussion side, what was the same, what was different, what were some of the major topics the panels discussed in this conference?
It was a wide-ranging, group of topics, mainly falling into different tracks. There was an HR track, audience development, philanthropy, resiliency, and ecosystem were the 5 verticals there. But actually, the last panel that I went to, I actually enjoyed. It was an HR themed panel on what you should do if if you're running a cinema and one of your employees comes up and asks about union or asks about their pay or asks awkward conversations. It's literally just the panel of, we're going to talk to this HR professional and he's going to tell you how to respond in the moment and what to say to adequately address the situation without obviously getting anyone into any sort of legal difficulties or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, the art house ecosystem, there's a lot going on there. One of the art house stories presentations, which is a regular feature that they do, is this theater out in Texas that is in a series of trailers and is starting to pair silent films with soundtracks kind of
Oh, you
mixed
got
from
to give
popular
Josh Trank the
albums.
shout out. Give Josh Trank the shout out he deserves. That's the Blue Starlight Drive-In. It's not
That
a
is the
theater
Blue
out in
Starlight.
Texas. It is the Blue
That is, all
Starlight,
right.
a drive-in here in Austin, Texas. I know, Josh. I've been to his theater.
I
Awesome
really want to
concept.
go.
I have to
Yeah,
tell you, it's so cool.
I really want to go there. And yeah, that new project that he has of pairing silence with a Radiohead album or different albums sounds really interesting. But yeah, I definitely the mood was everyone was very very happy for Art House Convergence to be back, albeit with a different name. It's an interesting time in the indie space. There's a lot of stuff to play around with and experiment with.
And I think part of that is the solutions and tech innovations that vendors can provide independent theaters and art house theaters to better manage their operations. And that is going to be the topic that you discuss with our next guest here in our upcoming feature segment with Shane Burkett, the Director of Strategic Marketing over at Agile Ticketing Solutions, one of the sponsors of the Index Conference. Rebecca's conversation with Shane coming up right after this break.
What if I told you that there's a ticketing platform designed not just to sell tickets, but to transform how you manage your entire venue, ensuring that you're always a step ahead in managing your theater? Agile Ticketing Solutions wasn't just built for the cloud. We pioneered it 25 years ago. While others are just catching up, we continue to set the standard. Agile Ticketing Solutions, not just the smarter choice, but the most reliable ticketing platform for your theater. Visit us at www.agiletix.com or call 615-360-6700 now to learn more. And we are back on the Box Office podcast with Shane Burkett of Agile Ticketing Solutions. It's great to talk to you, Shane. I know you've been with Agile Ticketing, a longtime supporter of Art House Convergence, of the indie/art house/festival scene. It's a scene that is very reliant on community building, and it's something that has kind of different requirements sometimes than maybe the mainstream multiplex side of the cinema ecosystem. Could you start off by talking a little bit about how you can help some of these more local-based independent theaters provide the best possible services to their customer base?
Art houses really have a unique way of connecting with the community. The experience of an art house is totally different than it would be a megaplex. A typical experience is it's a little bit more of a connection between the operators, the programmers, the membership.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of those components really add to that experience. And once you go to an art house, if you're fortunate enough to have an art house in your community, go. And if you go, you're going to feel a bit different. It feels a little more connected to your soul, to who you are. Especially if you're going to see a documentary, or if there is a film series that's maybe by a well-known director like Wes Anderson is really popular
Mm-hmm.
in the art house community. With the art house experience, it's really about what happens in that venue, in that institution. And it's really can be educational. It can be an experience that you're just not going to feel anywhere else. Agile can help facilitate all of those angles. So when you walk in the door, from the box office to the concession, all the way to the screen, to understanding who that customer is, and then be able to market to them, to program better, to do all the things that you need to do. That's what our software allows those venues to do. And it's really unique in our space.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in addition to ticketing, you have the visual venue, which is the digital signage, concessions,
Absolutely.
pre-buying. I mean, it's kind of the whole
Rebecca,
movie
you
theater
nailed it.
experience in there.
Exactly. What Agile did is it really kind of thought outside of what are all the different ways that our art house customers need to connect with their patrons. And we know, obviously, box office is a no-brainer. We need to be able to sell those tickets in all the places that a box office would be found. And that includes not only physical locations, but mobile devices. That's huge now. This is the new box office. And so Agile, really thinking mobile forward, we began building everything to where it was going to be in a mobile friendly environment. And then once they walk in the door, being able to communicate all of the offerings, wayfinding, membership, patron opportunities, All of that can be found inside the Agile software.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I was interested in speaking with you earlier, a lot of art houses and independent cinemas, not all of them, but a bunch, are nonprofits. So it's a different metric for success.
Yes.
You can like help those
Right.
cinemas that are nonprofits find donors when they come into the theater.
Absolutely. Being able to discover whenever there is a wealth component coming into your venue or a patron that has the ability to share their passion for your venue, that's critical for our art house partners. And Agile really kind of focuses on making sure that those donor management folks inside the theater are able to connect with those possible donors and make sure that they understand all the programming opportunities. And our software actually tracks purchases. So you can really begin to build a profile on each patron and understand what they're passionate about, what they love, what type of films do they like, what do they like at the concessions area. All of these things really build that profile for that patron that you're able to then go back and reference, pull reports from, really makes that relationship so much more powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's something that's important for a nonprofit, single screen, or maybe a larger cinema.
Absolutely.
It's a flexible platform. Do you work with only single individual screenings, or do you have the opportunity to do multiple venues? Because
Yeah, that's a
obviously,
great
like film
question.
festivals, if you're hosting a film festival, you're going to have something out there.
One of the great features of our software is it's multi-tenant capable, which we're seeing more and more venues have those other footprints that they need to ticket, or they have partnerships that they want to ticket. And what's really great about the Agile platform is it's very easy to carve that out, making it possible for them to do that. I can also add that we have an amazing membership program, which
Mhm.
allows for art houses. And our membership program is so unique. It allows for art houses to be able to offer some amazing benefits. And then along with our membership program is a loyalty program, and the two are not the same.
Mhm.
So a lot of people think, oh, loyalty membership, that's the same vein. It's not. Loyalty is a way of giving a reward for a behavior, while as membership is really kind of a graduated level
Mhm.
where you're identifying a patron. And then as they do business with your organization, or if they're connected to your organization in some way, you're able to track that and then grow them. And a lot of times what we see is we'll see stage one loyalty, stage two membership, and then they go into philanthropic motives. They'd be like become a major donor for the, and so it's really kind of this graduated program that we've seen a lot of venues use to really kind of move their demographics to those higher levels. So,
Mhm.
I may move into town, I become a loyalty member of an organization, then I
Mhm.
become a sustaining member where I'm maybe donating every month or every year. And then I move into donors where I'm making major pledges every year and being a part of their fundraising efforts. So that's kind of the progression that we see with using our three different, what we call relationship programs.
Okay, so Agile helps you just go through that process with respect for the distinctions that there are in the
That's
independent art
right.
house community, as opposed to just trying to get something and kind of off the shelf and hope that it knows how to ticket for a film festival where a screening is off-site or something like that.
Rebecca, a lot of times we do see, especially when customers come to us or our art houses come to us for ticketing, is we'll see kind of this, for lack of a better term, I'll say just this band-aided, they have a band-aid over here that sends data to this other program, and they sit down and one day they get really smart and they go, okay, I need to add up all of my subscriptions, which is something I need to do at home.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Is
we
to
all
add up
do.
all
Yeah.
my subscriptions. So, the art house operator that's, a little more savvy is going to go, wait a minute. I'm spending X number of dollars. And then they realize, but Agile has it all built into the platform. So it's right there at the tip of their fingers. Not only is the data integrity there, but it's just a lot less expensive than when you're paying out all of those different subscriptions.
Nowadays, always with independent art house cinemas, but I think any of our listeners will relate to one person, many hats. not
Right.
not necessarily having all the resources that you might want in an ideal world.
We like to say we're a lean green machine. We really operate on a lean scale. Our clients a lot of times are forced to do that. So we operate, surprisingly, we offer live 24/7, 365, not a phone tree, customer support. And so I always tell people when I'm talking to them, I'm like, go ahead, call our office on Christmas morning. You'll get a live human being but rather quickly. So that's a commitment that Agile has for our customers. Is we know that the time that you need that assistance, you need it. It needs to be there. So we do offer that live 24/7, 365 support for our customers.
Yeah, and then you have educational components as well,
We do.
seminars and the like. Because I mean, Agile does so many different things. I would imagine it would be kind of hard for some people. It definitely would be for me to know where to start.
Well, I was going to say, and on top of that, that's a great point. And on top of that is we know that theaters are constantly hiring, bringing on new staff, and a lot of ticketing platforms do charge for their continued learning. But Agile's just decided that it's really in our best interest to get your organization and your team equipped with the knowledge they need to run the box office, run the concessions area. So every month, our clients can go out to our website and actually sign up for different programs that are taught by our client success director. And it's a fantastic hour-long program typically that kind of shows them how to do these different functions within their organization. Now, on top of that, we go to conferences, LHAT in Milwaukee, House Convergence in Chicago. We go to conferences, and a lot of times we are invited to teach on donor relations or how to manage a membership or what are future innovations that are going to be impacting theaters and art houses. And so those are things that we're constantly teaching to let everybody know, hey, we've got our finger on the pulse of what's happening while we're still innovating and making sure that your venue is successful and it's growing and it's going in the right direction. We're also keeping our eye on the future of ticketing. What does that look like? Legislatively, what does ticketing look like? How do we make sure that our ticketing software can adhere to those strict legislative policies that could be coming down from Washington or from those state houses? We know that knowledge is the number one best way to ensure success. You've got to know what you're doing. You got to know what's coming. And so Agile really wants to partner with our venues to make sure that they know we're out there looking, we're making sure, and they can also tell us, hey, this is something that we see or something that we want.
And I want to close out by asking something that I think anyone in the art house, in the indie cinema community,
Yeah.
top of mind: money.
Money, yeah.
And the spending and the saving thereof. You do something really interesting at Agile with the payment plan structure. Is that the right way to put it, would you say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the way that we price our software is it is performance based in a lot of ways. We do have an enterprise option that's available. We see that a lot of organizations that have high volume tickets annually typically will go with an enterprise option, which is basically an annual license, or it can be a monthly license and it's flattened. Most of our art houses, though, to what you were mentioning, is they're more on a performance base. So they're looking at, I want a partner, I want a ticketing partner that's going to ride along with me for this. We don't know what Hollywood's putting out. We love it when Hollywood puts out the Barbies and the Oppenheimers, but we don't know. We don't know what is going to resonate with the customers, what's going to resonate with your members or with your patrons. And so we really, in a lot of ways, will ride along with that venue and with that per ticket fee that's just typically added on at the point of sale or on the web.
Yeah, you're there with the peaks and with the valleys.
Absolutely. So, that's, during the pandemic, Agile was right there with our customers. We definitely felt the pain that they felt. And that's why we quickly started innovating. We offer some really cool features now due to the pandemic. Like you can still offer streaming. So if you have older customers who maybe want to see a film, you can actually extend that through the software and stream that out to them. So, or allow them to stream it. You can also stream live events. So if you want to do a fundraiser and maybe, invite the entire nation to come, you can do that through the Agile platform as well. We'll help facilitate that entire conversation, getting those people in so that they can enjoy that program at your venue. We want people to come back to the theater. So we're just trying to make it incredibly easy for them to do that. We know a lot of people during the pandemic, they learned that they could stay at home and watch film, but there's nothing like that. I always hear people say that theater popcorn, there's nothing like that experience of going and sharing it on the big screen with all your friends and loved ones. And so we really want people to rediscover their love for film and rediscover their art house in their community.
For those who want to find out more, they can go to agiletix.com. That is AGILETIX. Shane, did you want to share the phone number?
Absolutely, I'd be delighted. And our phone number, our sales team is always excited to talk about our software. I'm always excited to talk about our software. If you can't hear it in my voice, I truly love talking about our software and what it can do because I really think it is a powerful component. Our number is 615-360-6700. That's 615-360-6700. And you can ask for me, Shane Burkett. You can ask for JJ Hall or TK or Tanya Key in our office. So any of those are going to be able to help you with at least discovering the software and then learning more about how it can impact your organization in a positive way.
And that was Shane Burkett from Agile Ticketing Solutions speaking with Box Office Pro's Rebecca Pauley. Earlier, you heard from myself, Daniel Luria, and my colleague, Chad Kennerk, going over all of the news and box office forecasting updates leading into the 4th of July weekend box office. On behalf of everyone here on the Box Office Podcast, we want to thank you for listening. If you like what we do, don't forget to rate and subscribe. That's the easiest way for us to continue what we do here on the podcast every week. New episodes drop on Thursdays. Don't forget to listen to us next time, and we'll talk to you again next week.